In one of the most sweeping immigration restrictions in modern American history, the Trump administration announced today that it will suspend immigrant visa processing for citizens of 75 countries, beginning January 21st, just 6 days from now. This isn't a travel ban in the traditional sense. Tourists and temporary visitors can still come, but if you are from one of these 75 countries and you want to permanently immigrate to the United States to join family, take a job, or build a new life, that pathway just closed. The timing is striking. This announcement comes exactly 5 months before the United States hosts the FIFA World Cup in June, one of the world's largest celebrations of international unity, where America will literally welcome the world, and it comes after the administration achieved something unprecedented, the first net negative immigration in the United States in 50 years. More people left America in 2025 than arrived. So what's actually in this policy? Who's affected? And what does it mean for America's place in the world? Let's break down the most dramatic immigration restriction since the 1920s. Let me start with the specifics because the details matter. According to the State Department announcement, beginning January 21st, U.S. embassies and consulates in 75 countries will stop processing immigrant visa applications. The administration hasn't released the complete list of affected countries yet, but reporting from Al Jazeera and other outlets indicates it spans Latin America, the Caribbean, the Balkans, South Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. That's not a regional ban, it's a near-global suspension. Now here's the crucial distinction. This affects immigrant visas, not non-immigrant visas. What does that mean in practice? If you're planning to visit the United States as a tourist, attend a business conference, or come for the World Cup, this policy doesn't directly stop you. Those are non-immigrant visas, and they're still being processed. But if you are trying to permanently move to the United States, if you are an American citizen's foreign-born spouse waiting to join them, or a skilled worker recruited by an American company for a permanent position, or a parent hoping to retire near your adult children, those are immigrant visas, and those just got suspended for people from 75 countries. The State Department's justification is security-based. According to the official statement, the suspensions target countries whose vetting procedures are deemed not robust enough to meet U.S. security standards. The policy is described as temporary, lasting until affected countries strengthen their identity verification and information sharing systems. But there's no timeline specified. Temporary could mean months or years. This builds on previous Trump administration restrictions. In June 2025, the administration implemented a full travel ban on 12 countries. In October, it set the refugee admission cap at 7,500, the lowest level in U.S. refugee program history, down from previous caps that admitted tens of thousands annually. But a 75-country suspension is a different magnitude entirely. We are talking about billions of people, roughly 3/4 of the world's population, now unable to pursue permanent immigration to the United States. Behind these policy numbers are real people whose lives just got thrown into chaos. Consider an American citizen born here, works here, pays taxes here, who fell in love with someone from one of these 75 countries. They got married, they filed all the paperwork, they passed the background checks, they've been waiting months or years for approval to bring their spouse to America. As of January 21st, that process just stops. The American citizen can't bring their husband or wife home, not because of anything either person did wrong, but because of where the foreign spouse was born. Or consider the skilled workers. American companies recruit talent globally: engineers, doctors, researchers. Some of these people have already been approved, have job offers, have sold their homes and prepared to move. Now they're in limbo. Universities have admitted international graduate students who were planning to eventually pursue permanent residency and contribute their research to American institutions. Many of those pathways just closed. And perhaps most painfully, there are elderly parents who were approved to join their adult children in the United States for their final years. Families that were weeks away from reuniting are now separated indefinitely. The State Department hasn't clarified what happens to applications already in process, whether they're frozen, denied, or will eventually be reconsidered. That uncertainty itself creates anxiety for hundreds of thousands of families. According to the Brookings Institution's analysis of Department of Homeland Security data, 2025 marked the first year of net negative immigration in the United States in half a century. The administration deported approximately 605,000 people. Another 1.9 million engaged in what officials term self-deportation, leaving the country under pressure from enforcement actions or fear of deportation. Combined, more people left than arrived. And now the administration is dramatically restricting who can come legally. Now let's talk about the timing that almost nobody in mainstream coverage is emphasizing. On June 11, 2026, just 5 months from now, the United States, along with Canada and Mexico, will host the FIFA World Cup. It runs through July 19th. This is one of the world's largest sporting events, expected to draw millions of visitors and billions of viewers globally. The World Cup is typically a celebration of international cooperation and cultural exchange. Host nations use it to showcase their openness, their welcoming spirit, their place in the global community. And the United States will be hosting it while simultaneously implementing the broadest immigration restrictions in modern American history. Think about the message that sends to the world. It says, come visit, spend your tourism dollars, fill our hotels and stadiums, but don't think about staying. You're welcome temporarily, but not permanently. To be clear, the visa suspension doesn't directly affect World Cup visitors. Those are tourist visas, which are still being processed. But the symbolism is hard to ignore. Countries whose citizens are banned from permanent immigration are being invited to send their soccer teams and fans to celebrate on American soil. The cognitive dissonance is remarkable. FIFA hasn't commented publicly on whether this creates any complications for the tournament, but diplomatic relationships matter for these events. When a host country implements policies that affected nations view as discriminatory, it can create tensions that overshadow the sporting competition. The Biden administration bid for the World Cup partly on the strength of America's diversity and immigrant heritage. The Trump administration is now implementing policies that fundamentally contradict that image. Whether this affects the tournament itself or just creates an uncomfortable backdrop remains to be seen. But the optics are undeniable. America welcoming the world temporarily while closing the door permanently. Beyond the human and symbolic dimensions, this policy has tangible strategic consequences. Economically, immigration has been a driver of American growth for generations. Immigrants start businesses at higher rates than native-born Americans. They fill critical workforce gaps in healthcare, technology, agriculture, and countless other sectors. They contribute to Social Security and Medicare through payroll taxes while being younger on average than the native-born population. Restricting legal immigration from 75 countries reduces the talent pool available to American companies and universities. It limits the workforce at a time when many industries face labor shortages. And it accelerates demographic aging without the immigrant replacement that has historically balanced America's population structure. Business groups and tech companies have generally opposed broad immigration restrictions for exactly these reasons. But the political calculus in the Trump administration prioritizes security concerns and immigration reduction over economic arguments. Diplomatically, this creates friction with dozens of countries simultaneously. Some affected nations may retaliate with restrictions on American travelers or businesses. Regional organizations, the Organization of American States, the African Union, South Asian blocs may issue critical statements or coordinate responses. Most significantly, this affects America's soft power. For decades, one of America's greatest strengths was being seen as a place people wanted to come to, a magnet for talent, ambition, and aspiration. That image is powerful in geopolitical competition. When the United States closes its doors to most of the world, it cedes that advantage. Countries like Canada, Australia, and various European nations that maintain more open immigration policies become more attractive destinations for global talent. China leverages American restrictions in its own soft power messaging. The administration's argument is that security takes precedence, that it is better to restrict immigration than risk admitting people who haven't been adequately vetted. That's a defensible position in principle. But when 75 countries are affected, spanning every continent, representing billions of people, including close U.S. allies, it raises questions about whether this is genuinely a targeted security measure or a broader ideological preference for dramatically reduced immigration regardless of individual circumstances. To understand how unprecedented this is, we need historical perspective. The United States has restricted immigration before the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 banned virtually all Chinese immigration for 61 years. The Immigration Act of 1924 established national origin quotas that severely limited Southern and Eastern European immigration. Both of those policies are now viewed as shameful chapters in American history, discriminatory restrictions that the country eventually repealed and formally regretted. Trump's first-term travel ban affected 7 countries initially, later revised to focus on specific security concerns. The Supreme Court upheld a modified version, though it remained controversial. But a 75-country suspension is exponentially broader than any of those precedents. The 1924 Act restricted certain nationalities. this policy restricts most of the world. Even after September 11th, when security concerns were at their peak, the United States enhanced screening and created delays but didn't implement blanket bans on this scale. The closest historical parallel might be the period of severely restricted immigration in the 1920s through 1960 seconds, but even that was eventually recognized as counter to American values and interests, leading to the 1965 Immigration Act that reopened pathways. History suggests that broad nationality-based immigration restrictions tend to be viewed more critically over time than they are in the moment. The Trump administration's announcement today that it will suspend immigrant visa processing for 75 countries represents the most sweeping immigration restriction in modern American history, affecting billions of people across every continent. It comes 5 months before the United States hosts the World Cup, creating a jarring contradiction between welcoming the world temporarily and closing the door permanently. And it follows a year in which, for the first time in 50 years, more people left the United States than arrived. The questions going forward: will courts uphold this policy or strike it down as discriminatory? How will affected countries respond diplomatically? And does restricting legal immigration from most of the world make America more secure, or does it simply make America smaller? What's your take? Is this a necessary security measure or an overreach that damages America's economic and diplomatic interests? Share your analysis in the comments. And if you want continued coverage of Trump administration policy, immigration developments, and their global implications, subscribe and hit the notification bell. For Strategic Signal Report, this is the story of how America closed its doors to most of the world.